Welcome and thank you for joining us for today's PENTalk. If you have any questions during the presentation, please submit them through the question box. We'll answer as many questions at the end as time allows. If we don't get to your question today, we will follow up with you afterwards. Tomorrow, you'll receive an email with a link to replay today's broadcast. Let's get started. Hosting today is Brian Lynch, Regional Director for the Mid-Atlantic Territory at Pentegra. Brian joined Pentegra in 2020 and has made great impact since. He brings an independent perspective to every opportunity with the goal of delivering the very best retirement plan and fiduciary solutions for his clients and partners. Brian, we are so excited to have you with us today, and I will now hand things over to you.
Thank you so much, Lauren, and thank you all in attendance for spending some time today to talk about a topic that is near and dear to our mission, which is to serve plan advisors and their clients. Obviously, helping plan sponsors offer a compliant retirement plan is an important role that you as the advisors navigate. We all know ERISA is a really complex law. In fact, if you go to ChatGPT or Google, you can't even get a page count for how many pages are included in the law, but you are offered a 900-page reference book. So clearly a lot of complexity, which can lead to a lot of issues, which can lead to a lot of valuable advisor time being spent to help fix those compliance issues. Now, as a way to get started, for any of you pension history geeks out there, I love to tell a couple of stories. Why is it that ERISA is such a complex law? Well, if you go back to one of the sad stories, Studebaker was a firm that went bankrupt. And when it went bankrupt, the assets of the pension plan were not separated from the assets of the organization. So employees that had worked there for 10, 20, 30 years lost those pension funds that they thought were promised to them. Another great perspective of the history behind ERISA. If you have an entire Saturday afternoon to kill, I strongly recommend watching the movie The Irishman. It's on Netflix. Al Pacino plays Jimmy Hoffa. And one of the scenes, they show Jimmy Hoffa actually pillaging the union pension funds and loaning it to the mob, I use air quotes there, to build casinos in Las Vegas. So the legislators, between the bankruptcy of Studebaker, people losing their pension funds, and some of the ill uses of pension funds, figured we need to help correct this and protect those pension funds. So that is why ERISA exists. That is why it is so strict. So what are we going to cover today? Well, this session is designed to really provide an overview of the hidden risks that you as advisors face when it comes to helping your plan sponsors navigate their retirement plan. And a lot of those risks are around the operation of the plan and errors that occur in the operation and administration of that plan. And we know that many of you on the line are the first call that sponsors make when they run into a plan. Many of the plans that we have been asked to help are often ones that, before I get there. So not only are you guys the first call that many advisors or plans receive, but the risks that they face when it comes to managing their plan are incredible. And of course, what we want to talk about is what are some of those risks and how can a fiduciary partner like Pentegra help in order to outsource or offload some of that risk that your plans face? So many of the plans that we work with day in and day out have run into administrative issues. And one of the things that you face as advisors, or the hidden risk you face, is often helping plans with operational issues. That includes things like eligibility, interpreting those complex ERISA rules that I referenced earlier, and guiding sponsors through all those DOL and IRS requirements and the many, many rules that get added to those requirements year in and year out. In fact, over 70% of the advisors we've surveyed have told us that administrative burdens and fiduciary risks are the top challenges that plan sponsors face. While investments may get a lot of the headlines, Data shows that most of the regulatory actions stem from administrative failures. When I was attending a conference many, many years ago, I had the pleasure of actually seeing a former DOL investigator speak. And when he would go in to investigate a plan sponsor, the first question that he would ask is, where is your plan document? We would like to see that. And quote from him, the majority of plan sponsors of whom he asked this question could not locate that document. The plan document, as we all know, is literally the legal contract by which the plan should be run. And is it any wonder if a lot of the plans can't even locate this document, that they would run into issues like this on the screen? So many fail to use the correct compensation definition. We've seen so many that have run into eligibility issues and not telling participants when they're able to actually contribute and getting them in on time. They fail to update the plan document, don't even know where it is, how they're going to update it. And of course, we see almost weekly a missing or late filing of their Form 5500 and a very expensive notice from the DOL or IRS to correct that. So as I mentioned earlier, when we see these issues or errors occur, oftentimes you as the advisor are the first one that is called. And this can really stretch your time thin and lead to a lot of strain when it comes to doing what you may have been hired to do. And a lot of times that's the investment fiduciary. Perhaps some of these fixes are beyond the access you even have to the plan. And more importantly, we know that you're going to be involved from start to finish. This is going to be an urgent mess that takes away time from other priorities, but you're going to help. And it could strain the client trust in the relationship. When I mentioned that one can't even find how many pages ERISA law count is, but there's a 900-page reference guide, was really to emphasize how complex and why a team is really helpful to navigate this. And there is help. So when you think about what is going on when it comes to retirement plan administration, it's complex. I've talked a lot about that. It's time consuming. It's technically detailed. And I referenced earlier that high risk for penalties for corrective filings. So when you think about what your expertise is, whose responsibility it is and access there is to the administration of the plan, what help is actually available? Well, we've seen it firsthand. The advantage of 316 fiduciary outsourcing can really help to ease a lot of the burdens that plans run into when it comes to managing their plan. One thing that is really eye-opening, over the years I've seen many surveys, and a theme that seems to always hold true is that anywhere from 60 to 80% of plan sponsors don't even know or are unaware that they are a fiduciary, let alone the standard that they're held to by being a fiduciary, which is being or acting as a prudent ERISA expert would act in every decision made about the plan. So what does this mean? How do you actually deliver this? Well, you could hire that prudent expert, a fiduciary partner that actually takes on the legal responsibility for administrative functions of the plans. That's what a true 316 does. Reduces the chance of errors and compliance gaps. I mentioned, can count how many pages in ERISA. If you were to track all the DOL and IRS notices that come out about pension plans, that could be a full-time job. So you hire someone that knows all these operations, is an expert in all these operations, and will understand the plan sponsor's document and make sure that it's actually run how that document tells them to run, which ultimately will stabilize that trust and position you all as the advisor as strategic leader. You are delivering that complete solution and not only helping them to understand what their responsibilities are, but also taking care of those responsibilities in a prudent way. So how can this work? Well, with a 316, already talked about, the fewer errors, outsourcing to that prudent expert. Really, what I like to talk about here, I'm always reminded of a story. So I'm one of 8 children. I'm the youngest of 8. My father was a middle school principal. My mother did not work outside the home. So needless to say, my father was always looking for ways to save some money. And growing up, I'll never forget, we had a light switch that did not work in a closet that we actually needed because it was a large closet, stored a lot of things. Figured out how hard could that be? He goes to fix it. The light switch works. Finally can see in the closet. What doesn't work, though, is when you turn the light switch in the closet on, the bathroom light goes off. Having 10 people under one roof, people were showering at all different times, early in the morning, late at night. So if you were one of those unlucky early in the morning, late at night, you had a dark shower. And a little sibling rivalry, we had a little fun with each other. Didn't always turn that light back off, so you had to shower in the dark or get out, wrap a towel, and go have to change that. So my dad 4 times went to the hardware store, 4 times bought a different light switch, 4 times got it wrong. He ended up hiring an electrician who not only had to fix all the errors he made, but ultimately got it right in the first place. So why do I tell this story? To me, it's analogous of what we see day in and day out. Plan sponsors are not the experts on running the plan. And unfortunately, through no malice, trip up and run into some errors. And by having an expert take over, they're able to avoid those errors and make sure that everything is done right. Just like if my father had hired that electrician from the get-go, would have saved himself a lot of pain and suffering in the long term. So when might a 316 be a good fit? Obviously, we see a lot of organizations, lean and mean. They don't have folks that have the time or bandwidth to be able to be the 401k expert. And they're already trying to run their organization and do their day job. Now they've got what arguably is a full-time job trying to manage the pension fund. Outsourcing an expert could really be a huge benefit for them. One trend we've seen a lot over the last several years is many 401k plans or ERISA plans were run by folks that had been involved in the plan for 20, 30, 40 years, ever since really the start of the 401k. They understood it. They knew exactly what they had to do. They're graying out, they're retiring, and the people who are replacing them may not even be able to spell ERISA. Furthermore, understand exactly what it takes in order to run the plan. So they're asking for help, and they're bringing in that help so that the plan continues to run as it did under the person who had that expertise for all those years. So that's really where we see it fitting. We've talked about some of the benefits and problem solve for the FAs. Obviously, partnering with the 316 solution can really help your plans run more effectively, strengthen the trust you build with clients. And if things do go wrong, rather than having to drag people in and have this long drawn out process, the point of having that fiduciary who's in charge and responsible, if they do screw up, they're the ones who have to make the fix. And if there's any issues because of their screw up, they're on the hook to pay any fines and make whole the plan. Of course, you're hiring that expert to make sure that you never get to that point, but it's just another level of security for the clients and what you can bring for them. A little bit about Pentegra and our expertise. So we are over 80 years old as an organization. In fact, we were started in 1943 as the administrative fiduciary for the Federal Home Loan Banking Association's multiple employer defined benefit plan. Rolls right off the tongue. Nobody will ever forget that. But the point is, we have a long history of being an administrative fiduciary. We're an independent firm. We understand ERISA. This is our expertise. We have a staff of over 300 people who wake up every day as pension nerds, ERISA geeks, wanting to understand everything that a plan is trying to accomplish and making sure that that plan is doing what it wants to do. And we're going to be the ones on the hook as their fiduciary in order to do that. And our findings have shown from our fiduciary playbook is that outsourcing is really one of the best practices. If you think about the history of the investment fiduciary, 20 years ago, a lot of plans didn't have a 321 or a 338. Today, be hard pressed to find one that doesn't have an investment fiduciary. And we're really starting to see that trend come in with the 316 administrative fiduciary, which really fits in with the trend we've seen since the participant trend started back in the mid-2000s with the Pension Protection Act and the do-it-for-me trend. So if you think of a new hire for a lot of organizations now, they join an organization, if they do nothing, many are automatically enrolled into the 401k plan. They're invested in a thoughtful default investment alternative. And in many now, we're starting to see them adopt escalating their savings rate. So if I join an organization like that and I do nothing, it's taken care of for me. It's very similar to the old-fashioned defined benefit plan and how that used to work for participants. We're seeing that trend now for the plan sponsors. They want help. They want experts and professionals to come in and help do it for them where they can. Obviously, they're always going to be a fiduciary, but for some of those tasks that they're not experts in, we can help them between the 338 investment fiduciary as well as the 316 administrative fiduciary, take a lot of the day-to-day headache and operation of the plan off their plate and do as much for them as we possibly can. So when you think about, potential plans in your practice, where do we see the best next steps or the best prospects for this? Clearly any plans that have had mistakes in the past or dealing with a mistake currently, they are some of our best clients. When we help them fix what has gone wrong in the past, they don't ever want to go through that again. And clients that have gone through that really value the services that a 316 can bring. When you think about clients that just are lean and mean, and they need every one of their staff members to help drive the mission of the organization, pension fund management can take a lot of time from folks in the organization to prevent them from doing that. And a 316 can step in, be a much cheaper alternative than hiring a full-time staff member in order to make sure that that plan is running the way that it's supposed to be running. We're seeing these talking points that I've highlighted in the brief 20 minutes we've been together really start that conversation. We know that there is still a huge knowledge gap about what is 316, what does it mean, what do those services actually do. This is a great way to go out and talk with your plan sponsor clients and prospects about something that they may know nothing about and see a ton of value in, or prevent one of your competitors who is going to go educate one of your potential clients about a thing that they may or may not know. So it's a great ring fence around your business, both from adoption as well as just educating on what it does. And of course, we're here at Pentegra to help you understand the 316 solutions and tailor them in different ways that would benefit your plan sponsors and help them accomplish what is most important for them to accomplish. And the most important when it comes to ERISA, have their plan run according to that plan document and the way that they've set it up. It's going to make sure that it's getting them to where they want to be from a plan document and an organization's goal for that retirement plan. So that's what we're here for. Please feel free to reach out to your Pentegra counterparts across the country. We are always here and willing and happy to assist in any way we can, from basic education of what 316 is to presenting a solution that might fit to help them. So with that, I want to thank you all for your attendance and time today. There will be a replay as referenced earlier. With that, if you do have questions, we will definitely get back to you, but I'm going to turn it back to Lauren to close us out.
Yes, thank you, Brian, for such a great presentation. And we'd also like to thank everyone for joining us. As a reminder, tomorrow you will receive an email with a link to replay today's broadcast. and everyone have a great rest of the day.